Hi, it's me, Claudia, and in this video, I'm going to present you the task-based language teaching. This video is going to be divided into two parts. The first one is going to be focused on the main aspect of the task-based language teaching, while the second segment includes an example on how I will implement this approach in a lesson. So, sit back, munch on some popcorn, and enjoy the video. Okay, but before talking about the task-based approach, let's distinguish between synthetic and analytic syllabi. Synthetic syllabi rely on linguistic units, in other words, grammar structure, vocabulary items, etc. These units are normally ordered logically. It means from linguistic simplicity to linguistic complexity. On the contrary, analytic syllabi rely on the purposes for which people are learning a language and the kinds of language performance that are necessary to meet those purposes. As task-based syllables are composed of tasks, not a sequence of linguistic items, TBA falls into this category. But wait, we need to differentiate between task-based syllabi and task-based language teaching. Task-based syllabi are characterized by the absence of grammatical items, while TBL teaching does not exclude it. Of course, it rejects a role for such direct explicit instruction. It claims that even within a communicative task, some attention should be paid to linguistic form. Okay, but now let's get to the point. TBA focuses on the use of authentic language and asking students to do the meaningful task using the target language. The tasks have a clear outcome so that the teacher and the students know whether or not the communication has been successful. The language learning is presented in the form of problem-solving negotiation between the knowledge that the learner holds and new knowledge. Task-based approach is a structure with three stages. The first of them is the pre-task. In the pre-task, the teacher will present what will be expected from the students in the task phase. Besides, the logic involved in what the students are being asked to do. And finally, it allows the language necessary to complete the task to come into play. The second stage is the task. During the task phase, the students perform the task, typically in small groups, although this depends on the type of activity. Ideally, the teacher won't join the task, but she will be monitoring the students. It's very important that the teacher doesn't interrupt the students when they are focused on the meaning. The idea in this phase is that the students are going to plan, create, and show a tangible linguistic product. It could be a task, it could be a presentation, or it could be a video. The use of public presentation encourages students to work on accuracy and organization. Once the students have finished the activity and reported to the other students, it's time to the last stage, the review. Here, the students should receive feedback not only from the teacher but from the other classmates. And finally, a new activity based on the errors that the teacher has noted should be planned. Now, let's talk about the advantages of this approach. First, the students' communication skills will improve, as there are many opportunities for interaction in the class. Second, the students' confidence can improve due to the same reason. The third advantage is that the students are free of language control. In all the three stages, they must use all their language resources rather than just practicing one pre-selected item. The fourth advantage is that language explore arises from the students' needs. This need dictates what will be covered in the lesson, rather than a decision made by the teacher or the course book. Additionally, teachers do not focus on a particular function. In fact, the teacher uses a wide variety of linguistic forms. Definitely, task-based learning is useful for moving the focus of the learning process from the teacher to the student. But wait, we need to talk about the disadvantages too. In this approach, tasks have to be carefully planned to meet the correct criteria, and it can take longer to plan. Additionally, another disadvantage is that students can avoid using target language to complete the task if the tasks aren't well designed, if the students are not motivated, or if the students are feeling lazy. Okay, we have already finished the first part, so now let's move on to the second part of this video. As I said before, in this part, I'm going to show you how I will implement this approach in a lesson. So let's start it. Okay, so I will start the class telling the students that the lesson is based on a true story which was reported in a newspaper a few years ago. The first stage of the class will encourage the students to speculate on the story on the basis of a few clues. I will write up on the board the characters, which are a shopkeeper, her two children, a young man, an 8-year-old boy, and the police. The setting will be a corner shop in an Astor-underlined Manchester. The props, or the things used in the story, a balaclava, a packet of smarties, a plastic bag, and a gun. Finally, I will write some phrases from the story. A young man came in to buy a newspaper. He pointed a gun at her and told her to fill up the bag. I pretended to reach for some money. They are taking the case very seriously, like all cases which involve a firearm, fake or not. Later, I will explain some of the words and phrases which might cause some difficulties. Like a balaclava, there's like a sky mask. It covers someone's face so only their eyes can be seen. Or Smarties, there are small brightly colored sweets with chocolate covered in a thin layer of sugar. To finish this stage, I will ask the students what they think happened in the story, but do not tell them if their guesses are right or wrong. I will tell them to use as many of the ideas on the board as they can. Now, let's move on to the second stage of the class. As the students have already made up their own stories to fit the clues, the best thing for them is to work in pairs or groups and discuss their ideas. This will give them a lot of speaking practice. Now, I will ask some of them to tell their stories to the class. So, I will give them some time to prepare their stories. I will go around and listen as they work. When they have had enough time to prepare their stories, I will appoint a spokesperson for each group. I will ask the group to work with the spokesperson to prepare the final version of the story. And I will ask the others if their stories are the same or different. This probably will engage the class in a discussion as to whose story is the most likely. Now, in the last part of this stage, I will hand out the story for them to read. Or maybe if I want them to have some listening practice, I can read the story out and then they will read it. Okay, now we are in the third stage. Here, I will highlight relevant parts from the presentation for the students to analyze. Additionally, I will ask some students to notice interesting features. Probably, I will also highlight the language that the students use during the report phase for the analysis. Of course, in this part, the students can also review each other's work and offer constructive feedback. And finally, I will select some language areas to practice based upon the needs of the students and what emerged from the task and report phases. Well, that was all. I hope you have enjoyed the video. Bye!
Muchas gracias por su colaboración. Hasta luego.